young couple, brought together by their shared passion for surfing, falls into the hands of a maniac whose hobby is feeding his victims to wild sharks, all while recording everything on camera. Hi there. Today we're going to explore the plot of the 2025 film Dangerous Animals. The film begins at a small dock somewhere off the coast of Australia, where two tourists, Heather and Greg, arrive. They're looking for a tour that includes diving in a shark cage. Soon, a man named Tucker appears, the captain of a boat. He learns that the tourists got separated from their group, meaning no one knows where they are. After introductions, the three of them head out to sea on his vessel. During the trip, Tucker shares how he was once attacked by a shark while surfing as a child. He survived, but was left with terrifying scars as a constant reminder. At the dive spot, Heather begins to panic. Tucker calms her down with a lullaby. Then the tourists dive underwater in a steel cage that's meant to protect them from the many sharks in these waters. After a powerful adrenaline rush, the couple resurfaces. Without warning, Tucker kills Greg with a knife and pushes his body back into the water, a meal for the predators. He leaves the girl alive. The story then shifts to Zephyr, a young woman living in a van who's passionate about surfing. At a local shop, she runs into Moses, a guy in business clothes whose car has broken down. He's looking for help. When he sees Zephyr sneakily taking some candy, he threatens to tell the store clerk unless she helps him out. Zephyr drives Moses back to his car and helps him fix it. Along the way, she notices a surfboard in his trunk. A connection sparks between them over their shared interest. When asked why she got into surfing, Zephyr confesses that she never felt like there was a place for her on land. In response, Moses tells her about a secret spot where the waves are perfect. After Zephyr falls asleep, Moses heads home to make her breakfast. But when he returns with a tray of food, the van is gone. Meanwhile, Zephyr drives to the beach to check out the place Moses told her about. Realizing she forgot the key to attach her fins, she approaches a nearby parked pickup to borrow a tool. She's digging through the truck bed when the owner, Tucker, returns. The man gives her a wrench and drives off. As Zephyr finishes setting up her board, she gets a message from Moses. They're about to meet up, but at that moment, Tucker suddenly attacks. He chokes her until she loses consciousness. Then he takes her surfboard, making it seem like she went out swimming and disappeared. Tucker returns to the dock and moves his new captive onto his boat. Zephyr wakes up in bed, handcuffed to the headboard. Across from her is another prisoner, Heather. The new captive cries for help, unaware that the boat is far out at sea, and the only person who can hear her is their captor, calmly eating breakfast. Realizing no help is coming, Zephyr decides to take matters into her own hands. She tries to rip the headboard loose, but fails. Instead, she starts looking for something she can use to pick the lock. A tough childhood and time spent in juvenile detention have taught her a few useful skills. Meanwhile, Moses finds Zephyr's van. Later, he sees it being towed away. Its owner never returned. The police refuse to help. There's no legal basis to report her missing yet. Back on the boat, Zephyr notices Heather's bra and pulls out its underwire. Using it, she tries to unlock her handcuffs, but doesn't manage to finish in time. Tucker enters the room, bringing lunch for his captives. Noticing Heather without her bra, he comments on it and offers them some water. Zephyr distracts him with conversation. Once he leaves, she continues working on the lock, unaware that Heather is losing consciousness. Soon, Zephyr herself passes out as well. The wire slips from her hands and falls to the floor. When she tries to retrieve it, Tucker enters again, this time carrying a harness, and catches her in the act. When Zephyr regains consciousness, she finds herself on the deck of the boat, tied to a chair. Heather is now wearing the harness and is strapped to the crane arm. Tucker sets up an old VHS camera and begins delivering a monologue about the gods who live in the depths of the sea. Then, he cuts off a lock of Heather's hair in preparation for his ritual. He uses the crane to lift Heather into the air, lowering her over the stern, feeding her to the sharks. The camera captures everything as the predators tear their victim apart. Afterward, Zephyr is returned to the hold. She scratches Heather's name into the wall with her nails, alongside the names of other past victims. Some of the names have already been painted over by the maniac. Meanwhile, the captain dances in his cabin, wearing only a robe and underwear, drinking wine straight from the bottle. Later, he tapes Heather's hair onto a fishing hook, which he attaches to the VHS tape of her final moments. He already has around 30 such tapes. The next morning, he visits Zephyr to bring her food. She insults him, trying to provoke a reaction, but Tucker simply walks away, telling her to let out her anger into a small plastic bucket he brought. At that moment, an idea begins to form in Zephyr's mind. She removes the handle from the bucket, breaks it in half, and fashions a makeshift plastic shiv. That evening, Tucker prepares a sedative and heads below deck to retrieve Zephyr. She pretends to be asleep, then suddenly attacks him with the broken handle. The man falls, hitting his head on the bed frame and losing consciousness. Seizing the opportunity, Zephyr takes the keys from his pocket and frees herself from the handcuffs. She tries to grab the boat keys too, but the captain regains consciousness. Zephyr flees, unable to lock the door behind her. The maniac begins to chase her. Reaching the control room, Zephyr attempts to call for help via radio, but no one responds. The sedative begins to kick in, and through blurry vision, she sees a lit-up tourist boat in the distance. But she doesn't manage to send a signal. Tucker returns. In the ensuing struggle, Zephyr grabs his vintage camera. Realizing how much the device means to the fragile soul of her captor, she throws it overboard. Then she jumps into the water after it, hoping to escape. But her body goes limp. The sedative paralyzes her. Tucker retrieves her unconscious body using a gaff hook. Meanwhile, Moses is out surfing, unable to stop thinking about Zephyr's disappearance. On the beach, he finds a broken surfboard. He turns to the lifeguards for help, but once again gets nowhere. Reviewing footage from the beach's security cameras, he notices that after Zephyr arrived, a pickup truck belonging to Tucker, the man behind the shark diving tours, drove away from the area. Moses calls Tucker but only gets the voicemail. Meanwhile, Tucker secures his new victim with 2 sets of handcuffs this time and heads back to the harbor. He needs a new camera. At a flea market, he finds a suitable device and makes his way back to the boat. Moses also arrives at the boat, hoping to find the captain. He boards the yacht and hears suspicious sounds coming from the lower deck. Bound and gagged, Zephyr is banging on the wall. Realizing this is serious, Moses breaks a window in the cabin. Climbing down, he finds the girl. Together, they act surprisingly smart for a film in this genre. Instead of immediately freeing her, Moses runs upstairs and calls the police. But just then, Tucker returns and attacks him in the cabin. Relying on his physical advantage and clear mental instability, the captain overpowers the unexpected visitor, injuring him with a fishing hook. However, Moses manages to fight back and turn the tables. He nearly strangles the captain, when suddenly, he's struck on the head. It's Tucker's neighbor from the marina who heard the commotion and came to check things out. But when he hears Zephyr's screams from below, Tucker sees no other option than to eliminate the overly curious bystander. Making sure no one saw people boarding the boat, Tucker sets off into empty waters. When Moses and Zephyr come to, lying on adjacent beds, Moses admits he failed to save her. He didn't manage to contact the police in time. Their conversation is interrupted by Tucker. He decides not to wait for nightfall and sets up a midday feeding. After injecting a sedative, the captain brings them both up to the deck. Zephyr is placed in the spectator chair, and Moses is chosen as the main attraction. When the maniac activates the crane, raising Moses into the air, Zephyr begins to bargain, offering herself in his place. But Tucker politely declines. He has no patience for sentimental meltdowns. As the boy is lowered toward the water, Zephyr tries to help however she can, telling him not to move, so as not to attract the shark's attention. Tucker carefully films the predators swimming below, but they lose interest and drift away. The captain hoists Moses back up and stabs him several times in the side. Fresh blood should awaken the shark's appetite. And indeed, the predators return, circling beneath the suspended body. But the feast is cut short. A rescue helicopter appears on the horizon. Tucker pulls the injured Moses back onto the deck and tosses him into the hold once again. Looking at the boy who tried to save her, Zephyr reignites her will to escape. Her wrist doesn't fit through the handcuff, so she breaks her own thumb. But even that doesn't help. So the girl, like a wild animal, makes a terrifying decision. When Tucker returns, he finds a blanket on the bed. Beneath it, a severed thumb. Zephyr herself is hiding behind the door, and when the moment comes, she bolts, locking the maniac in the hold. But being experienced in such matters, he had brought a wrench and opens the porthole from inside. Zephyr starts the boat, steering toward the shore, but Tucker emerges from below and cuts the power. Spotting a brightly lit beach nearby, Zephyr pulls out a flare gun, but she's forced to use it on Tucker, who appears once more in the control room. Armed with a frying pan as a shield and a kitchen knife, she fights back against the maniac and knocks him out once again. She uses the precious seconds she's won to jump overboard and swim toward the beach. Tucker shines a spotlight on her and tries to shoot with a harpoon, but the target quickly disappears into the darkness. He then launches a motorboat in pursuit. Zephyr, with the last of her strength, reaches the shore, but there's not a soul around. She tries to call for help when the maniac catches up and applies the same choking hold again. He drags her back to the barge and ties her up as bait, assigning wounded Moses the role of spectator. While delivering yet another tedious monologue, the captain suddenly falls silent. He's stunned. The largest shark he has ever seen is approaching the vessel. The maniac lowers his victim into the water, filming as the giant predator circles beneath her. Zephyr does her best not to move. Suddenly, a second shark appears, slightly smaller. Tucker tries to shoo it away with a gaff to keep it from ruining the shot, but the creature rips the tool right out of his hands. The girl grabs the gaff, ready to defend herself, but the shark dives deeper. Zephyr then hooks the gaff onto the crane's carabiner and begins slowly climbing upward, as far from the hungry jaws as possible. Suddenly, Tucker lets out a piercing scream, startling the girl. She slips and falls, tearing through the rope that held her. Taking advantage of this unexpected freedom, Zephyr dives under the barge. There, she comes face to face with the enormous shark and freezes. The predator, losing interest in the motionless target, glides past her slowly, revealing an old scar along its side. While the captain scans the water's surface, searching for his prey, Zephyr sneaks back aboard. From the side of the vessel, she retrieves the dropped harpoon gun and, approaching quietly from behind, fires at the maniac. Pierced by the harpoon, Tucker topples overboard. He manages to reach the stern, trying to climb back onto the boat, but within seconds, the enormous shark grabs him along with the harpoon. A new camera, installed on the barge, captures, ironically, the final moments of the captain's life. The shark drags its prey into the deep, and along with him Zephyr, whose leg has become entangled in the line attached to the harpoon. Still shackled, Moses sheds a tear, believing he's just lost his last hope, and then loses consciousness. Zephyr finally frees herself and swims back to the boat. Climbing onto the deck, she tries to revive the boy, and then she sees a tourist ship in the distance. Taking the last flare, she climbs to the roof of the cabin and fires it into the sky. As the ship changes course and begins moving toward them, Zephyr descends to the injured Moses. She tells him that now, besides surfing, she also has Moses. The boy comes to, marking a true happy ending. The film ends here. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this recap, give it a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.